For TraderInsight.com, I'm Adrian Mans, and it's time for your daily dose of the doctor. All right, well, someone wanted me to go through the around the horn trading plan trades for today, just go through them one by one. I'm going to do that for the core portion of the plan. Let's take a look at that first, since that's the easiest thing to understand and replicate, and then we will figure out stocks to watch and stocks and sectors on the radar in another video. So first off, on each and every trading plan, I've got my stocks laid out in full detail on sheets that look like these, and then I've also got a gouge sheet that goes through and just summarizes all this information without the chart and without the pivot lines. But in today's case, we had Berry, B-E-R-Y. This is Berry Plastics Group. It was an infield fly, short setup, 49.47 entry, 49.87 was the stop, 49.01 the initial target, $49.24 was 50% of the distance to that target. When the market opened, we were above the stop loss on this one. It came down through. That gave us room for an alternate entry. I did not get that, by the way, but it was there. 49.47 was the entry trigger price. We see that Berry triggers an entry, goes up just a little bit above the entry. That's normal, right, to see a little bit of a regression, especially when we go down and hit this pivot line the way that we did. This is S1, this green pivot here. Then it comes down. It hits 50% of the distance to the target, right under the pivot at $49.24. When that happens, it's time to move the stop to break even. Once the stock gets down 10 cents to the target at $49.11, move the stop down from break even to the 50% to target level. And once we get to the target at 49.01, depending on the share size, it is time to take the trade off or take half the trade off and trail a stop on the balance. So Berry this morning, $49.47 down to 49.01. That's a 46-cent per share profit. Next on the list, Colgate-Palmolive, ticker symbol CL. This one, a fastball expansion of range and volume, short setup, 65.13 entry, 65.33 stop. The initial target, $64.63. 50% of the distance to the target is $64.88. Move to the intraday chart of this one as well. We see the stock opened, traveled higher, got up above that stop level. Again, that's usually a pretty good place to look for an alternate entry. I did not do that on the first bar of the day, right? I was busy with the Baltimore chop, so if you were in the room, you know we were trying to focus on a couple of those. CLC in that case, that was a different stock, of course, but that entered and just got us out at break even on the Baltimore chop. But while that was happening, we missed an opportunity here for an early entry. But look what happened. It came down, and in the first bar, triggers the automated entry, $65.13. And again, down to the 50% to target level. At that point, we move that 65.33 stop down to 65.13. We've got a risk-free trade at this point. Then as the stock moves lower, when it gets down to the 64.75 pivot line, we were anticipating that we were going to pause there, right? We know that the stock is going to have at least the propensity to bounce a little bit on a pivot, and we're going to wait and see what happens. Let it play out. At that point, the worst case scenario is a move back to the entry price and a break-even stop. But it manages to get down through the pivot, gets within a penny of the profit target. Now when it gets 10 cents of the distance to the target, I move the stop from break-even down to the 50% to target level, and we only missed by a penny. In the room, I did tell people, you know, you might want to move your target down and just take it out below that 64.75 pivot. Don't let it retrace all the way back up to the pivot. Let me just show you here in the video that that is, in fact, what I did as well. You can see here in these little circles that Realtek has drawn where our executions were, $65.13 on the way in, and when it got down to a penny from the profit target, I did ratchet it down to $64.70 or so. It will, of course, not be booked that way for the trading plan results. Those are going to reflect the by the rules number, which is going to show a 64.88 exit. So it'll be on that spreadsheet the way the rules state it should have been traded. This was a discretionary move, and as I said, we did talk about it in the first hour trading pit. First hour trading pit is included with your subscription, so I encourage you to come in and join us for 1 hour each and every morning that the market is open. Next, we've got HDFC Bank. This is ticker symbol HDB. It's an infield fly, short setup, $64.38 on the entry, $64.89 is the stop. Initial target, $63.73. $64.06 is 50% to the target. Once again, you can see here that we've got all the levels predefined on the screen, and the stock open. I guess I still have the execution showing, which is fine. If you find it distracting, just realize that's just showing you where the fills happened. 64.38 was the entry. I got filled in the second bar of trading. I had very, very tight parameters on that trade. I don't like to allow for a lot of slippage. First bar got away from me. Second bar came back and filled it. We had to move down to 50% of the distance to the target. When that happens, the stop gets moved down to the 64.38 entry price, and in this case you see HDB retraced, went back up, hit the entry, and triggered an exit on that trade for a 0, right? So they're not all going to come up winners. In this case, this one took us out at a scratch stop, but that's better than a stop loss. Here's JEC. This was an infield fly, short side setup. 61.89 was the entry, 62.34 stop, initial target $61.35, and 50% of the distance to the target, $61.62. When the stock opened for trading, it hit the red pivot line at 62.47. If you're nimble, that's a trade you can take right off the open. Spreads were a little bit wide on that one. You had to take the spread, not give it up, in order to profit on this. So I wasn't even looking at this one until the second bar of trading. I was looking for a move up to $62.80 or a move preferably up to $62.95. The $62.95 move down to $62.80 was a decent little scalp, but other than that, JEC didn't do anything for us today. Finally, we've got VEEV Systems Incorporated, ticker symbol VEEV. This was a double header short setup. $46.15 on the entry, $46.62 stop, $45.54 initial target, and $45.85 is the 50% to the target price mark. This one, once again, opened high in the range, gave us an opportunity for some early entries. As I said, I was focused on some other things this morning. I wasn't really looking too much at getting into these before the trigger prices. VEEV comes down, hits the entry price, never comes back up to the stop, moves down to the 50% to target level. At that point, move the stop down to break even, and then proceeds to go down and hit our target. And look what it did afterwards. Now, I know, Sheila, in the room, you managed to stick with that trade, and that's fantastic. I can show you that I suffered the pain of an exit right at the profit target, but it's going to keep running, I guess, and you know what, shoulda, woulda, coulda, but I'm always happy if I follow the plan, and this is the side effect then of automating those orders, right? So this is something I wanted to show you people, and that's why I've got the balloons on here, or those execution indications that Realtic can plot. It's not just to mess up the chart for you, it's so that you can see what happens. You can see that on the entry I got a better fill. So by using the automated order, it came down and hit the entry price, and I actually got a price improvement. It filled me up in this range. When I got down to the exit on this one, I got filled within my allowable slippage, right, just a penny or so from the exit. But by not having a trailing stop or by not manually trading it, I did miss this additional opportunity. And look at this. This is nothing to sneeze at. This is a 60-cent move this thing's made so far. And you guys in the room, kudos for grabbing this and managing to run with it. So overall, it was a good day. If you're the fella in the room who asked me about the order entry routine, you know, how to set these things up on a chart, I hope this answers your question. If it doesn't, shoot me an email, adrian@traderinsight.com. I hope you had a great trading day today and an even better one on deck for tomorrow. It's the best trader education anywhere, only from traderinsight.com.